The expunge process in Jakarta mail. Considering expunge process, deleting messages from a folder uh, uh, is a two-phase operation. Setting the deleted flag on messages marks them as deleted, but it does not remove them from the folder. The deleted messages remove only when the client invokes expunge method on that folder object. The folder object then notifies the listeners by firing an appropriate message event. The message event object contains the expunge message objects. Note that the expunge method also returns the expunge message object. The folder object also renumbers the message failing after messages falling after expunge messages in the message list. Thus, when the underscore expunge method returns, the sequence number of those message objects will change. Note, however, that expunge messages still remain their original sequence numbers. Since expunging of a folder can remove some messages from the folder and renumber others, it is important that the client synchronize itself with the expunge folder as early as possible. This section describes a set of this section describes a set of recommendations for client wanting to expunge a folder. Expunge the folder, close it, then reopen and refresh messages from the folder. This ensures that the client was notified of the updated folder state. In fact, client can just issue a close method with the expunge parameter set to true to force an expunge of the folder during the close operation, thus even avoiding explicit call to expunge. The previous solution might prove to be too simple or drastic in some circumstances. Now here we describe the scenario of a more complex client expunging a single access folder. For example, a folder that allows only one read-write connection at a time. The recommended step for such a client after it issues a expunge command on the folder are: update its message count either by decrementing it by the number of expunge messages or by invoking the get message count method on the folder. If the client uses sequence numbers to reference messages, it must account for the renumbering of the message object sequence to the expunged messages. Thus, if a folder has 5 messages, as shown here, sequence numbers are within the parentheses. And if the client is notified that messages A and C are removed, it should account for the renumbering of the remaining messages as shown in this second figure. The next point, the client should prune expunge messages from its internal storage as early as possible. The next point, the expunge process becomes complex when dealing with a shared folder that can be edited. Consider the case where two clients operate in the same folder. Each client possesses its own folder object, but each folder object actually represents the same physical folder. If one client expunges the shared folder, any deleted messages are physically removed from the folder. The primary client can probably deal with this appropriately, since it initiated this process and is ready to handle the consequences. However, secondary clients are not guaranteed to be in the state where it can handle unexpected message remove event, especially if the client is heavily multi-threaded, or if it uses sequence numbers. To allow client to handle such situations gracefully, Jakarta Mail API applies the following restrictions to folder implementation. A folder can remove and renumber its messages only when it's explicitly expunged using expunge method. When the folder is implicitly expunged, it marks any expunged messages as expunged, but still maintain access to those messages message objects. This means that the following state is maintained when the folder is implicitly expunged. Get message returns expunge message object together with valid messages. Message object, however, expunge message can throw the message expunge exception if direct access is attempted. Messages in the folder should not be renumbered. In the implicit expunge operation cannot change the total folder message count. The folder can modify listeners of implicit expunges by generating appropriate message event. However, the removed field in the event must be set to false to indicate that the message is still in the folder. When this folder is explicitly expunged, then the folder must remove all expunged messages, renumber its internal message cache, and generate message event for all expunged messages, with each removed flag set to true. The recommended set of actions for a client under above situation is as follows. Multi-threaded client can expect to handle shared folders are advised not to use sequence numbers. If the client receives a message event indicating message removal, it should check the removed flag. If the flag is false, then indicate that another client has removed the message from this folder. This client might want to issue an expunge request on the folder object to synchronize it with the physical folder, but not caveat in the previous descriptions above using shared folder. Alternatively, this client might want to close the folder object without expunging and reopen it to synchronize with the physical folder, but note that all message objects would need to be refreshed in this case. The client may also mark the expunge messages in order to notify the end user. Next point, the removed flag was set to true. The client would follow earlier recommendations on dealing with the explicit expungers.